Now, before we even go on the journey of that, we also have to look at the two M's, immune.
Yes, 2 M's.
The immune system. And what is our immune system? Now, to understand the immune system, I like to use analogies. So 2 analogies I'd like to use. One is of a rhino. And when you see a big rhino, often what sits on top of a rhino is a bird. And what that bird does, and there's loads of other insects on the rhino. Have you ever seen that? Now, what sits on the rhino, including the bird, is part of that rhino's immune system. And what they do is they eat around the rhino, off the rhino, and this prevents disease affecting the rhino itself. Yeah. So technically, different species of the rhino is part of that rhino's immune system. So kind of hold that in mind. The second thing I like to then add is that you have rats in your house, a couple hundred. And one of the things you will do, or people do, is put rat poisons down. And when you put the rat poison down, if you're not professional, you may put the one rat poison down, and then what happens is the rats die, and after a while, one of the rat lives, 2 of the rat lives. So what they do then is use the rat poison as food, and then they can replenish back the herd because someone survived. We use the same thing for parasites, and we do parasite cleanses, and we will use particular herbs to kill parasites within inside the body. And then you take a 2-week break because you give them an opportunity to replenish. And then as they're in the gestational period, you start the new set of herbs or things to kill the parasites again. Because if any of those babies survive, your parasites continue. So they're just kind of images of how the body can deal with external pathogens or viruses. The third one I'd like to get you to imagine, an alcoholic drinks lots of alcohol. Our bodies are designed to filter. So if I drink a bottle of vodka, tequila, high grade, then I go to piss. I do not piss alcohol. Otherwise everyone will be selling their piss. Yeah. So the body will change that and lessen the volume of that, so that you no longer the product that you take in. Yeah, our body filters, which is very, very important. Now, survival of a race, a human race, for example, against viruses, bacterias, dependent upon the strong, the young, that will take on these things and then filter that process to the next line. Now, we have the very old, and we have the 3 levels, very old, middle, and child. The stronger you are, most likely the younger you are, your immune system becomes quite strong. The blood circulation is actually fast acting. The older you get, the immune system becomes tired and weak. During the early stages of any child, you'll get this child to go play in the mud, in the dirt, because we're going through a process of teaching the immune system, the T cells and other things of the immune system to treat and learn how to treat itself. The T cells stop learning after 2021, something like that. Yeah, and so all lessons are done. The body continues to learn. Now, I'm an Englishman and I've been to a few countries, main countries, China and Jamaica. Now, what happens is when I'm doing a treatment or people around me, the skin that we have flakes off. I do breathe it in. We breathe moisture, humidity. I also breathe in, it lands on me. And so if I'm in close contact with someone next to me, what is happening, unbeknown to us, is that my immune system is teaching their immune system how to cope. So if that person that I've been with for quite a few years or whatever, they then decide to travel to China or Jamaica, when they land, their immune system's already been primed to a lot of the diseases that have gone on in the country and they're less affected. So we have in Jamaica, we have a beach called Hellshire, and the English invaded, and many of them died on the beach because they weren't used to the bacteria, fungals on the island, so they died. And then as people got used to it, now they can go to Jamaica anytime. Same thing happened to indigenous Indians when foreign foreigners came in, they brought their bacteria disease with them. They didn't all die. After a while, people got used to it because they call it aspects of herd immunity, and then they started to survive, then they thrived. Sometimes it can be bad that maybe a whole civilization was wiped out. Very, very unlikely. Now, as we work with our bodies, we learn to filter. So I will take on a new virus, and I'm not within a dangerous age, and my body will take it on, and I may become asymptomatic. Yeah, and if my immune system is poor, the poorer the immune system, the greater the symptoms. The stronger the immune system, the less of the symptoms. But equally, my body will filter that. So if I take it on board, and let's say I've taken on 100% of a virus, my body will filter it, and so the people around me no longer need to take on the 100%. Like the alcohol, I take it on, I piss it out, it's no longer 70 CR. The same will happen with the virus. So my body takes it on, then I'm in contact with the next person, and they get less of what that virus was. So what I also trying to say is that we use the word called shielding, especially for our old. Now, when we visit our old, we're continually teaching, especially if they don't come out of the house, we're continually teaching them how and what is out there by what's off our skin, how we breathe, and so on. And so, if they do leave the house, they become protected or relatively protected because now they're educated from us. So, if we shield and don't touch, talk to our elderly, they become uneducated, and then they meet someone to whom has the virus, but because they have no lessons of what that virus is, it becomes very dangerous for them. If they're younger, it's not dangerous. If they are, it can be quite dangerous. And so, washing your hands on a frequent basis, you're removing all remnants, all degree of anything. I can't pass this on to the next one. So, and sometimes it's actually important to do this so you can pass this on because I've filtered it down. The same would be for the mask, because in my breath, the humidity, the people breathe it in, and then they're breathing in a filtered version of what could have been out there. And so the more people you actually associate with, the more chances you have of taking on 2%, 10%, 3%, 15%. But if you take on 100% of anything from someone you don't know, then it becomes very, very dangerous. Yeah, and so this is how I believe that the viruses work. Our body filters it, and then we can. And so if you're old, it becomes yes, so you need to protect the old. But at the same time, if you keep them isolated away from human contact, then as soon as they leave their house, they're in trouble because they have no idea of what is actually, the body has no idea of what the virus is. Yeah, so I think it's important for our families to communicate with, and this means yes, hugging the elderly. For example, my mother is 85, and the doctor and my family wanted to isolate her and shield her during a pandemic of 2020. And they listened to what the doctor had to say, and I refused to take note because I come from a complementary background. And so I actually sent my mum out to Sainsbury's, local shopping, because I made sure that I was around her on a daily basis, that I could educate her on how her immune system is. And then she was going to Sainsbury's. Now she goes out every day. There's less likely a chance that she'll be stricken. Plus, we also, not just that, we make sure that the nutrients that the body takes becomes very good. We make sure we reduce the sugars, reduce the alcohols, make sure they're breathing exercises to make sure the lung is actually strong. And there's a doctor called Dr. Sebi, which is quite famous. He says that most diseases are based in mucus. So the more mucus you remove from the body, the less likely chances your body will react in an inflammatory condition because you have less mucus. And so then the quality of your blood, nutrients, hormones can actually get to the site of where it needs to happen to deal with the virus itself. So this is what I think as a complementary approach. If it's not seen as a widely complementary approach, then it's just my opinion. But with experience of treating people with viruses, I think it's quite a valid opinion because people get better with this opinion. Yeah. So where We've been isolating, washing hands, social distancing, shielding. Every time people leave or colleges get together, the cases go up. Yeah, now many of the cases are asymptomatic. They have no symptoms or very little symptoms. So we know that an aspect of herd immunity in 2020 did take part at some point. Yeah, hospital admissions are actually lower, but yes, there are still hospital admissions. But I think it should be due to each individual to actually do best for themselves and not rely on, because if you go to the hospital, there's not much that they can actually do for you besides, unless you become admitted, then it's a different scenario. But now when it comes to the treatment, yes, nutrition, exercise, I think are very, 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 very important. Within massage, we do a lot of stuff within Twina and massage to work on the upper respiratory tract, to improve the way that the lungs open and the way we take breath. And by doing so, you can keep the lungs active, keep the person active, and it can be very, very beneficial. We did send out some videos for self-help, for especially how to breathe. Qigong, Tai Chi is also quite good. Meditation, also quite good, because then it controls then the heart then helps to control the lungs. The immune system, as I said, we use inhalers, infusers. Some of the common ones would be orange peel, salt, and ginger. You boil it and you put your head over and infuse, and the steam will also help the lungs as well, especially if you have problems. We use a technique called PAFA and GFA, which you send out videos. We're just hammering on the back, the lungs, will actually disperse a lot of the mucus in the body and enable you to breathe better. Yeah, so for this brief bit, is there any questions?
Is, as you're saying, not isolation and being with families, it's best to like you and your mum being together, it helped her rather than your mum and the neighbour?
Yes, the better the connection. So
Yeah.
me and my mum, the best connection will be the ones that share the same DNA, the same history, the same food, the same life in that sense, because then we have a greater connection. Step two would be best friends or friends, because if I work in an office and these are not family members, we've been in this office for quite a while, or friends for quite a while, so we've shared the same experience, and my body will be teaching everybody's body about China and Jamaica and also England. And if they've gone to Poland, or they've gone to Russia, or they've gone to Thailand, their body's teaching me about the diseases in those countries, whether I like it or not. I will breathe in their moisture from their breath, their skin, dust, microbes will go through my nose or in my mouth, so you cannot stop it from happening. Yeah, so the closer contact you have, the better it is. You equally, you still have people that live in the house where people have been told to self-isolate because one member has caught a virus. This is some of our clients, and 3 people in the house, which is the brother, mother and father, have been around the daughter for a 2-week full isolation. Then they tested and none of them have it. They may have the T cells, but they don't have the antibodies for the virus of 2020. So it's not as vicious as a virus now. Maybe in the early part of the year it was, but it's been around quite long enough that there are a lot of people building up the antibodies and T cells. So people are surviving quite well, just like the rats. Yeah, at the beginning, no one had the food. So people died, young, old, although most people that did die had secondary and third conditions like blood pressure, diabetes, poor diet, also quite old. Yeah, but the more is actually around. So other countries that did have a high death toll, in like Sweden, they have very few cases now because herd immunity has reached, and that is a process of actually following nature. People do die. Yeah, it's sad, but people do die. Yeah. So, any more questions?
No.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, because we look at a lot of the Western models, and what sounds quite interesting, I spend a lot of time as a doctor. I go to medical school, I pay a lot of money, but I'm only told to tell people to self-isolate, wash your hands, social distance. I spent 50 grand and 75 grand in medical school, and I don't have anything other than that. Whereas within nature, you have your vitamin D, you have your vitamin C, you have your zinc, you have your exercise, which is HO2, oxygen. And they're told you're not supposed to use these things. Yeah, you have laughter. Yeah, because if you have stress, it reduces your immune system. So isolating people does not improve in the sense of joy, love, and so on. It actually makes it go the opposite direction, which also can then lower. If you lower the immune system, yeah, then the constant TV war to telling you who has died, who has not died, that doesn't make you happy. It actually makes you sad. And sadness can lead to depression. Depression leads to a lowered immune system, which leads to lots of negative things. Where the process, I think we need to shift to a positive. And they starting now with aspects of the positive, telling you at 99.9 whatever percentage of people are surviving, rather than the 0.1%, which is not surviving. So it depends where your frequency is and your focus is.
I think it.
I was going to say, if let's say someone had virus in their body, whether it's corona or whatever, but they didn't know just before the actual full symptoms started, and they came here for treatment because you're helping with the GFA, PIFA, or getting rid of all those mucus and treating them. So in a way, you're actually preventing that virus to get worse, isn't it? Or take over in the body.
What we look at sometimes, the longer the virus stays in the body, the more damage it can cause. So again, I like to use analogies. A bull in a china shop. So if the bull is in a china shop for an hour, then it can infect all of the organs. But if you can express the disease faster, so the bull is in the china shop for 5 minutes, less damage happens. So by receiving complementary treatment, by doing the things that assist the body, constitutionally, health-wise, and so on, then the patient recovers faster. The speed of recovery, sometimes you cannot stop viruses entering the body. And I remember last year, and many years before, if you went to a doctor and spoke about a virus, the doctor would say go home and go through the process, because there's no medication for a virus. There is for bacteria, there is for fungal, but there was never medication for a virus, and every patient had to go home and wait it out. And there is no different really at the moment. Until they bring a vaccine on the market, I think it's the responsibility of every human to look after themselves, their family, their community, to treat the virus, which is what we would have done in the first place. And also listen to a lot of the old wives and old wives' tales, because there's a reason why those bits of information has gone through history, transcended down to where we are now. People survive, and those stories become important.
And it was back in the day, it was looking after the immune system. They didn't know exactly what they were doing. It was just, oh, you need to take garlic or onions or whatever, pick that bush or whatever, and it's the immune system, and that's what's lacking here.
And that should, well, in complementary, I represent a complementary approach. Those are the things we could do. Whether we have peppermint in our house, so to improve the airways, and other things that can actually do that, which is quite important.
Food is medicine, yeah.
Food is medicine. Thank you. Stop it for me.